Good morning. This morning I'm going to make, at the School of Artisan Food, some vegan chocolate mousse. There are a number of different ways you can make chocolate mousse. Today I'm going to be using some coconut milk. You can just use cream to do this as well. It would have exactly the same recipe, you just could change the coconut milk for double cream would work. So into my pan I'm going to put 200 ml of my coconut milk, and I'm going to bring that to the boil. So by that I mean I'm going to heat it up, and as it starts to bubble I'm going to take it off the heat. So I don't want it too hot, because especially with your cream you might curdle it. Coconut milk I won't do that, but I don't want to boil it because it will change how the proteins work in the coconut milk. So I just want to take it to the boil to heat it up. Once it's got to that temperature, I'm going to put in some chocolate. Now I'm using chocolate pieces, but you could use just broken up bits of chocolate. You could use a bar of chocolate, it doesn't really matter. I'm using dark chocolate, but again this would work really well with milk chocolate. It's up to you what you prefer. In this here, I'm going to make some what's called Aquafaba. So Aquafaba is chickpea water, and we use it for a number of different things, but today we're going to use it instead of using egg whites. So you could use egg whites and do exactly the same as I'm doing, but rather than making a vegan version, obviously using cream and eggs would be non-vegan. So my coconut milk's come to the boil, so I'm just going to turn that off now, and then I'm going to add my chocolate into my pan. What's going to happen is the chocolate is going to melt now, and it's going to melt reasonably quickly, and all you need to do is stir it. So my hob is off, it's not hot anymore, because what you don't want to do is keep it on the heat whilst you've got your pan on, because what's going to happen then is you're more likely to burn your chocolate. So my induction hob, because it's an induction hob, it cools down straight away. So I've just turned it off, and then I'm just going to stir my coconut and chocolate mixture until it's all combined. My chocolate's beginning to melt now, and it's mixing with my coconut really nicely. So I'm just going to keep stirring that. I've got the same amount of chocolate as I have coconut milk. So I've got 200 millilitres of coconut milk, and I've got 200 grams of chocolate. So if you're making less or you're making more, if you're making it for a celebration and making it for lots of people, then you could just use the same quantities, just add more or add less, as long as it was at the same ratio. So it's now all mixed together, and I've got this really lovely smooth chocolate mixture. And put that to one side, and I'm just going to allow that to cool down. Whilst that's cooling down, I'm going to whip up my Aquafaba. Aquafaba is actually a waste product. So this is a can of chickpeas. I'm going to use the chickpeas to make some burgers, but I'm going to use the water. So the water that's coming off now is going to whip up and make my mousse really light and fluffy, and it will look almost exactly the same as when you make meringue with egg whites. So I've just tipped my chickpeas into a sieve to get the Aquafaba out. I'm going to put my chickpeas to one side. I'm not going to waste those. I'm going to make those into a really nice vegan burger, and I'm just going to whip it up. Now I don't have to use a mixer to do this, but if you are doing it by hand, it will take a really long time. So just be aware of that. If you are trying to whip up Aquafaba by hand, it's going to take a lot of arm strength. So I'm going to start whipping this now, and that will take around about 10 to 15 minutes to whip up. By that point, my chocolate and my coconut mixture will have cooled down, and I'll be able to mix it all together. So I'll show you this once this is whipped. I've whipped my Aquafaba. It's been whipping for about 10 to 15 minutes. And shall I do the test? So the test is always to tip it over your head. Oh, that one, it was fine. It's one of the blooper reels. If you're not confident with tipping it over your head, just tip it over the surface. It should stay in the bowl when you turn it upside down. Have a look as you're doing it. If it looks like it's going to fall out, keep whipping it, okay? So once my mixture is light and fluffy, exactly the same as you would with egg whites. If you are using egg whites, make sure you've got a really clean bowl and make sure that you've got no egg yolk in it, otherwise it will not work. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to very gently add 2 tablespoons to my pan. Now in my pan, my mixture has really cooled down, so it's cool to the touch, and I'm going to very, very gently incorporate my Aquafaba. Probably only need 3 or 4 tablespoons into it. You don't need the whole mixture. What I'm going to do with the rest of it is I'm going to add some sugar to it, and I'm going to make some meringues to go on the top. But you don't have to do that, that's just an extra little detail that you can do. So I'm just going to very, very gently mix my mixture up with my chocolate. It's really important that you're gentle. If you mix this with all gusto and go at it, what you're going to end up with is knocking all the air out, and then you won't end up with a light mousse. With the coconut and chocolate mixture, if you don't put any Aquafaba or any egg whites in it, what it can become is a ganache. A ganache you can use as a chocolate sauce, or you can use it as a topping for cake, or if you leave it to cool and set, you can either make it into little chocolate truffles. So once I've got it all mixed in and it's all the same colour, so I'm folding it in. So what I'm doing is I'm going underneath in a figure of 8 mixture to make the mixture all as one. So figure of 8, so I'm going underneath, over top, underneath, over the top, like that. And that just mixes it in nice and evenly. So I got this really nice fluffy mixture, which is all the same colour, and that's the important thing. Once I have combined it, I then can put it into some pots or a large pot. The smaller your pots are, the quicker it'll set. So it doesn't matter what size pots you use or what type of pots you use. I've got these little paper ones, but you can just use a normal bowl, or if you wanted to make it look really fancy, you could put it in a glass and layer it up, maybe with some cream or some fruit or some different things to make a really interesting dessert. So I'm just going to pour it gently in now. And then one of the things you can do is once you've put it into your pots, if you put on some frozen fruit on the top, that'll aid the setting. So I've got some frozen raspberries here, so I'm just going to put a few frozen raspberries on in the mixture. It'll sink in, but that's fine. And that again, because it's cold, it's going to help the setting process. And then they should set probably about, they'll set in probably about an hour, depending on how good your fridge is. And then there are my vegan chocolate and coconut mousse.